Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that's Connor, and we are going to talk about Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, the new show from Netflix that launched today. It's going to be episode 1, it's called The Bad Beginning Part 1. We will start spoiler free, because it's episode 1, and give some general thoughts on it before we go into spoilers, and we'll warn you before we do so. So, yeah, obviously this was already turned into a movie. It's based on a series of books. The premise of the story is that this group of kids, the Baudelaires, lose their parents who were rich and lose their mansion, and they get sent to their third cousin removed. I can't remember the exact connection or something like
ridiculous.
That. Yeah, it's like third cousin, fourth removed, or something stupid like that. And Count Olaf, and the book sort of premise is that he's awful, but then each book, I believe, they move to like. They keep having to end up going to a different relative, but it always turns out to be him in disguise, I believe is the...
It's close. Because I've read the books.
They
go to various people, and it's not always him, but he's always there in disguise.
To sabotage it.
Yeah, because essentially he wants to steal their fortune. And there's obviously more to it that we'll get into, and there's hints of it in this episode.
Yeah, but that's the...
To be fair, I believe... Given the way these episodes are structured, we said this is part 1. Obviously, part 2 is next. That's the first book. And
what a radical notion! Part 2 is next.
Episodes 3 and 4 are part 1 and 2 of the second book.
Yeah, they seem to have structured it like this, which I think works. Obviously, we haven't seen part 2 yet, or how the second book, or episodes 3 and 4 work. But I think it works in the sense that one episode's too short to do the whole story of a book.
Yes.
And stretching out a book more than 2 episodes would probably start to feel really thin.
Yeah, because obviously the movie was the first 3 books in about, 2 hours, 2.5?
Yeah, and I remember liking the movie. Well, I mean, I've seen it when it came out. I've not seen it since. I remember thinking it was fine.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, but nothing necessarily special.
Yeah.
That's kind of my memory of it. I do think this definitely... I think both this and the movie, from what I remember of the movie, do have a lot of stylistic choices they've kept kind of in sync, intact. Probably because that's just the way it is in the book, and they wanted to emulate that, and that's fine. I will say it has a very stylized look. It has a very, like, often it's obviously green screen what's going on, but it doesn't stick out because it's kind of consistent, like it's supposed to look kind of...
Yeah, there's a couple of moments that I would, maybe particularly call out.
Yeah, but it kind of fits the visual style, because they're going for this kind of almost pop-up book type tone.
Yeah, it's like a gothic pop-up book.
Yeah, so the idea that they kind of stick out from the backgrounds, and this sounds like I'm making an excuse, but I'm not, because it felt this way right from the second it started.
Yeah.
It just kind of works, and it's the visual... I mean, you might not like that visual style, and I wouldn't say I like it more than, like... That sounds really insulting to the filmmakers here. I don't mean it to be, but I don't like it more than proper filmmaking in that sense. Where you actually have locations and it's realistic. I prefer that, but that's not what this show is, and that's fine. This is stylized.
Yeah, there's a reason why they've chose this. It's not just that it looks. It's not that it's just cheap and it's under budgeted.
No, because it looks very good. It actually looks very high budget.
But barring, like I said, the moments are like the birds. I thought they didn't look that great. But and then that one felt like it was just a bit sloppy. But the rest of it, I agree, is just the style of it.
I will say this. I think this shows how much TV's come since the movie. Because the movie came out in 2004. I think it shows how much TV's come, especially stuff like Netflix, where I watched this and went, I don't think this looks any worse, really, than the movie did. I don't think...
No, not at all.
I think a kids movie from 2004 you can do on TV now, at least on Netflix. Maybe not on network TV, but you can do it on this type of platform.
Yeah, and seemingly easily, because they're doing roughly 8 hours of content versus the 2.
It's essentially 4 movies is what they're doing. And I think that's because we actually debated when we saw that the episodes were part 1, part 2, like 4 times in a row. We debated, do we just cover it as 4 videos? Do we do the whole first story part as a video, and then just do 4? And ultimately, I didn't want to do that, because I feel like, no, they've chose to put it up this way. They could have easily put up just 4 2-hour chunks if they wanted to. It's Netflix, they can do what they want. They could have done the Sherlock style thing and had these long episodes, and that'd have been fine. But they chose not to. They chose to present it this way, so it's consumable this way. It's consumable to stop at the end of a part 1.
Yeah, I think part of it as well is that they want it to be digestible for kids. For a kid to look at this and see 45 minutes or an hour, and they can block it out rather than see a big 2 hour movie that they might pass on.
Whether or not it's going to work in the long run, I mean, we have to watch the rest of it before we can say that. But I do appreciate that they've looked at the way the books are formatted, that look at the way the story goes from book to book, and they've said, right, what format suits this best? Does traditional TV suit it? Not really. Does movies suit it? Well, no, because the movie that came out in 2004, like you said, they squeezed 3 books into one movie, which doesn't work. And if you just did the first book as a movie, and said, all right, we may have a sequel in a couple of years for the second book.
It's not eventful enough, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel, it doesn't feel like that suits a second movie. And even then, I feel like if it was a movie every couple of years, the audience might think it's repetitive. The way, I mean, I've not read them, but the way it goes from. Whereas as a TV show, if you tell me the premise is, oh no, they go to different family members, but he keeps ruining it.
That's like the weekly hijinks.
Yeah, yeah. But as a movie, every couple of years, that feels like, oh, it's just another sequel kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think they've looked at it. Whether it works or not in the long run, we'll discuss that at the end of the season when we do episode 8. But I appreciate the effort. I appreciate, no, let's do something different. How can we make this work on the screen?
I also appreciate that even with it split into parts, this felt like it had a distinct ending to an episode.
Oh, it did. It had a nice. Well, obviously we won't spoil it yet, but there was a nice reveal at the end that.
Yes. And it treated it like, no, this is the end of an episode. Yeah. It's not just the middle of this story, even though it is the middle of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're being fairly positive here. I will say I enjoyed it. I think it is generally quite fun. It's from director Barry Sonnenfeld, who did the Men in Black movies. I think you can see a little bit of that influence sort of creeping in throughout with the kind of surreal silliness almost to
it's very self-aware as well, isn't it?
Very self-aware. We have Patrick Warburton playing Lemony Snicket, who is narrating. Oh, and he's on screen as well. He steps on screen and he talks about what's going on. And he's presenting it as if instead of being an author, it's more like he's a detective investigating the case.
Yes, which is if our memory serves me correctly, that's how the books were presented as well.
Oh, that's cool. It's interesting to use his real name then in that case.
Well, I mean, it's a pen name.
Is it? Or I assumed it was the real name. Fair enough.
No.
But no. So I thought that was interesting. I think I don't know if I'd have cast Patrick Warburton. Not that he's bad, but he wouldn't be the first person I'd think of when you go, oh, the narrator who's telling the story.
Well, like I said, I think he's a very good voice actor. He does a lot of voice work.
Oh, he does, yeah.
So I feel like they've clearly gone for a strong voice person rather than like a typical actor. And I think that pays off because it is so much in his voice, the storytelling there.
Yeah, because the way he talks about trying to solve the case and looking at the facts and he's all this kind of stuff is all really good. It does quite quickly present the 3 kids as capable characters. But my favourite thing, not my favourite thing about the show, I'll get to that in a minute, but my favourite thing about the kids is probably Sunny the baby. Her subtitled dialogue when she's like making noises is actually really funny. And
it is funny, yeah.
Because you get the impression she's almost smarter than everyone else in the room, but she can't speak yet, and that makes it funny.
It is.
So, that's pretty good. I think the other kids, they're fine. Do you know what's annoying me, actually? The actress who plays Violet, Melina Wiseman, she looks like someone else, and it's bugging me. And it can't be...
we've seen her before.
Oh, did we see her in?
She was in Supergirl. She plays young Kara in all the flashbacks.
Right, okay.
So it's like you might be just thinking, oh, you've seen her, and that's
Maybe.
What it is.
I assumed it was longer than that, so I assumed it was someone else that looked like her.
No, she plays young Kara in the
right,
flashbacks.
Okay, that's what I know from then.
Yeah.
Right, fine. Anyway, the two kids are mostly pretty good. They're not like, again, it's not meant to be realistic. It's kind of like
It kind of works in their advantage as well.
Yeah.
Because any kind of acting things that seem out of place kind of just feel like quirks.
It's quirky, it's heightened, and it mostly works. I think the two kids are likeable enough. I will say there was a couple of moments though where I thought there was a weird bit of attraction between them that I don't think was intentional.
Right, okay.
It was one point when they were on the beach and they were complimenting each other for what they were doing, and it was just like, this doesn't feel like a brother and sister at this point. There's something just kind of...
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't know. But that was there. I think it's fine. There's some jokes about how awful the bank guy, Mr. Poe, who like shows him around, and his wife. There's a couple of funny lines in the setup of like, so your parents have died in a fire. We're going to take you to your closest relative. And I was enjoying it well enough. It seemed very stylized. It felt like it had a direction. It wasn't pandering around. Where it became good though, where I'm like, oh, I actually might really like this, is when Neil Patrick Harris steps onto the screen.
Yeah, he has a very impressive entrance, given that it's not all that much that he's doing.
Honestly, I think he should steal the show. He's not the main. He's not a title character, but he's the main kind of point of the show.
He is, yeah.
But he steals every scene he's in. He is fun. See, there's a running joke where he keeps asking questions to get it right, and he shouts wrong, and then says the exact thing they just said. That keeps popping up, and every time he did it, I was laughing.
The way he shouts wrong, isn't it?
It's like, do you know what it's like? It's like Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. Almost. It's not quite as loud, but it's the way he goes, wrong! And then he says the exact same thing they just said. Every time it was cracking me up. He actually reminds me a lot of a wrestler called Chris Jericho. The way he thinks he's better than everyone else in the room and dismisses everything they say. You know, the way when he's talking to the bank manager, and he introduces himself as the company, and he's like, oh, well, money sounds familiar. Like, just little things like that. Just these little deliveries of these little lines. He steals every scene he's in. He's fantastic, and I was enjoying it well enough before then. But it was when he stepped onto the screen, it's like, okay, now we have a series.
Yeah, because obviously his entrance, he's just kind of stood there and just waiting, and then he kind of kicks into gear. And as soon as he he kind of does a movement of his head where he realizes, and as soon as he does that, it's like, okay, we're onto it.
Yeah, he's the star of the show, and he is. He's title billed and all the rest of it. But
yeah,
he really is. I mean, it was fine before. I don't think it was super exciting before. It was fine. It was setting things up, and
it was doing what it has to do to get to what we wanted.
But when he stepped on screen, that's when it all started clicking. That's when it all started firing.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Giving the kids the opposition made them equally far more interesting. But ultimately, I'm here to watch how awful he's going to be to these kids and all the things he's going to make them do and do to them and so on. So no, that would be my. Obviously, there's a neighbour character played by Joan Cusack, who I've not seen in a while, just a Strauss, and she is the very likeable neighbour who clearly likes the kids and might be a suitable guardian for them when the Count Olaf finally gets defeated at the end of this story, which. There's a spoiler because, like we said, the premise is that he does get defeated, but then keeps popping back up, trying to get them back.
Yeah, and ultimately it's a kid's story. At the end of the day, the good guys are going to win.
Yeah. That's true. There is one moment in this, though, that was surprisingly a little dark.
Do you know what? The books do get dark at times, and we get that even in the narration. He tells us, no, this is dark. You know, be prepared.
Yeah. But no, I was surprised. There was just one. You probably know what it is. I'll mention it in the spoilers exactly what it is. But there was just one moment I was like, "Oh, that's a little bit darker than I was expecting." Okay, but no. So I think that'll do for spoiler free.
I would just say, really like the music. James Newton Howard's doing a great job. It's a lot of fun and really fitting with the tone.
It's pretty good. Well, like I said towards the start, I was watching this and this could be a movie. Like, there's nothing about this that says this can't be a movie to me.
No, it's not. I mean, a little bit of re-editing at the ending to make it not like such a ending of an episode.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, the ending's edited.
And then I would assume you could tie it in with the part 2, and it would run as a movie.
Yeah, it feels like a movie. The way the whole setup plays out, it feels like the start of a kids' movie. It doesn't feel like a TV show at all. And it's got that Netflix ratio, which we always like to talk about.
We do.
The 2.0 to 1, give or take. I'll have to look up what the exact ratio is, just so I'm not speculating based on my eyesight. But it looks about that.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's go into some spoilers then. So, full spoilers for episode 1 of A Series of Unfortunate Events. Yeah, so Neil Patrick Harris was cracking me up. Everything he was doing with the list of chores, the making the food.
It was the roast beef that really got to me.
Yeah, I want roast beef. Yeah, that was pretty good. Because he asked them to make dinner. They've never made dinner before, but they do it anyway. They get help from the neighbour, they go to the market, they buy the ingredients, they clean the kitchen, which is filthy, they figure it all out, they make basically spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, it's some sort of fancy pasta
It's
dish.
pasta with a sauce, yeah, or spaghetti with a sauce specifically. They come out, they give it to all his theatre troupe, who all seem scared of Count Olaf and go along with him being awful.
Yeah, they're all his henchmen.
Yeah, and they serve it to everyone else, and then they go to him, and he's like, "Where's the roast beef?"
Yeah. And it's fun because they're all obviously enjoying the meal. It's like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And he just immediately says, oh, and everyone hates it, and they all just kind of start spitting it out.
Yeah. So, no. That was the dark moment I was talking about, though, because he hits Klaus.
Yeah.
He properly smacks on it. I was like, oh, wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that.
It's a full backhand slap.
Obviously, if you've read the books and whatnot, you see this stuff coming. It's not a shock to you, probably, but I have not read the books, and it's been a long time since I've seen the movie. Did that happen in the movie? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I mean,
it's been too long.
I feel like the movie might have been toned down a little bit.
Probably.
I mean, I read the books around that sort of time period as well, but they've stuck with me better than the movie has, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Whereas Netflix like, no, we're hardcore kids entertainment. we can do
we're
this.
doing this properly.
So that's all very good. Obviously, there's a lot of hints throughout the episode that Count Olaf himself was probably responsible for the fire, because Klaus finds this, looks like it's part of a telescope with
with the symbol.
With the symbol that Klaus has all over his house, has a tattoo of, and so on. And the twist at the end, which I didn't know going in, honestly, that the parents were actually still alive. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So that was the big reveal at the end. And Will Arnett is the dad.
And was it Kirby Smulders as
It
the
looked
mother
like
as well?
her. I don't see her.
I'm not entirely sure, but I thought it
because
looked like her.
It came up at the end saying, and special guest, Will Arnett is the father, but it didn't say anything about the mother. I'm like, oh, maybe it wasn't her, because I feel like if it was her, they would have given her credit.
I don't think I watched long enough into the credits.
It was literally the first thing that came up in the credits.
Oh, right. I just looked away then. I don't know.
But because it mentioned him and not her, I'm like, oh, maybe it was, because if it was Kobe Smulders, they would have said.
Well, I'm gonna have to go and check though.
She's not in the main part of the IMDb listing for the episode. Maybe they didn't know though, because he's not there either. To be fair.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it looked like Kobe Smulders, which I guess if you're a How I Met Your Mother fan, it's exciting that she's here. And
I like her. I think she's
I know,
good.
I like her, and I like Neil Patrick Harris. I just don't like that show.
That is a good point. You don't, and you're weird for that.
I don't. Is that a don't?
It was meant to be a don't, but I don't know. Something just went wrong.
You don't?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what accent that's meant to be from.
I
But
don't know either. It just kind of came out wrong.
I don't. Yeah, so that was surprising to me. It gave us the first episode any sort of cliffhanger reveal.
It's got an actual hook to come back, hasn't it?
It's a hook, yeah. There's actually an ongoing thread here. So as much as I suspected Olaf was guilty, and I kind of remembered it from the movie, if I'm honest, which I guess is kind of a spoiler for the next episode, but I feel like it's obvious in this episode that he's...
Yeah.
Because at one point he calls the mother flammable, which, by the way, cracked me up.
Yeah, it was good.
Because that's why I think I kind of compare him to like a bad guy wrestler, the way he would just blatantly be awful about the things he's doing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that a lot. So... he's definitely a lot of fun. A lot of great jokes as he's showing them throughout the house, and the art direction's over the top as hell, with everything looking grimy and dirty,
and you have it juxtaposed with literally across the street, where it's all sunshine and daisies and all that.
Oh yeah, when Joan Cusack takes them, like, I'll take it to my library, and she takes them through the garden. She goes, it's like a separate building out back, and she opens it, and it looks like the most posh, fancy, like rich person's library ever. And she's like, no, I know it's not what you're used to from your big mansion. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they probably had in the mansion.
I mean, we saw their mansion library, and it was pretty good, but this was equally as impressive, if not more so.
Yeah, this was pretty similar. Although I've got to say, if I ever have my own library, in that sense, I'm a fan of aisles. I like aisles. I feel like that makes it feel like a library.
I get that, but if you've got a small round room like that...
I know. I get that it's less homely, but I feel like people are more impressed when they walk in and there's like aisles to walk down.
I agree, but if you've got a round room, I don't think aisles work.
Yeah. One day my movie library will be big enough and I'll have aisles.
You have to have a room just for the aisles.
Yeah, that's
Just
the
stick a
doom.
bed in between one of the aisles somewhere, and that'll do you.
Nah. See, it's not just a home theater room. I need the movie store room as well. I need
Mm.
2 rooms.
Yeah, obviously.
Aye, any kids can sleep in the hall. That's
Oh,
fine.
of course. What? This show proves you just give them all one bed, and they'll make
Aye.
do.
Oh, that was an all-line that cracked me up. At no charge to you, I've provided some complimentary rocks. Some Pella rocks in the corner.
It got me when he was talking to the woman, and he goes, "Oh, and their bed," and she goes, "Bed." He's like, "Yes, bed. That's plural for bed."
Yeah. Oh, and when he eats the lamb himself, and he brings the lamb back that she's brought over and hands it to. She's like, what did they say? He's like, oh, they said it's too salty. Rich
Yeah.
kids. As he's picking his teeth, as he's
Yeah,
closing the
yeah.
door.
It's so ridiculously over the top, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is very much the point. I don't think you don't analyze this show in the same way that you look at
Almost anything else that we
almost
covered.
anything else. We don't come in and watch this like we do Westworld, because
No.
why would that be silly?
But it's fun, and that's what counts.
It's fun. Yeah, I'm excited about watching the rest of it. I do think 8 episodes is the right amount. I think any more than that, I think would probably feel a bit too much.
Yeah, and I think there's 12 books, so that would serve them 3 seasons.
Which I was actually thinking about this early on in the episode, that the kids are going to age year to year, because they're in that puberty kind of range where
Yeah.
they're going to be growing up quite fast. 3 seasons is probably realistically what you're going to get out of them before, especially Violet.
Yeah,
She'll be hitting 18. In fact, season 3 will probably end with her being, oh, I'm 18 now.
probably.
Yeah, because they said she's 14 in the show.
Yeah.
So even just in real time, she'd be 17 by the time season 3 rolls around.
That's assuming it's all on schedule as well.
Yeah, that's assuming they do one per year. But I think they'd have to. I think they'd rush it because they know the kids aging
Yeah.
would be an issue.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
So, but no, 3 seasons sounds about right. And if it is 12 books, 3 seasons, 8 episodes each, perfect.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because it's just enough in one go that you're probably not going to get sick of it. But there's not too much, there's just not too much.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically, so at the end of the episode, we see that John Cusack.
Where did that come from?
John Cusack is looking up adoption law. So she's certainly got her mind thinking. The kids have realised, right, this is hell. We can't make the best of this. We have to try and figure something out. And the parents are alive. So we have all the plot threads ready to go. This is the first half of the first story. So yeah, that's episode 1 of a series of unfortunate events. We'll be back later today with episode 2. You won't have to wait too long. We should get through the first 4 today and then be finished the show by the end of Sunday. That's the plan at the moment. So stick around for more of that. Let us know what you thought of this first episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.